Well, how are you doing, fam? As I said in my last video, I think I said that now I have Christmas break, so I can post a lot more videos. But so now, for example, I can post another video, about 3 days later. And if you're seeing this, it's Christmas in about 3 days for me, but there's Christmas when I post this. Woo! Hope you get nice presents. At least for me, not for you guys, because in Sweden we celebrated on the 24th. So yeah. So it's Christmas for me in 3 days, but for you guys it's in 4 days. And when I post this, you guys will probably have Christmas. So I always had the idea of creating my own cinematic universe. I was obviously very inspired by Arrowverse as a kid, because I watched it with my brother. I loved watching The Flash with my brother, even though I didn't speak that well English and I didn't understand shit. I loved just sitting down with him and seeing these cool fighters. That's how I got my quite inspiration of being a big DC fan. My brother never really got stuck on it. But I also love watching. But when I got older, I watched Daredevil. And as I learned myself. So I created my own short universe. And it was meant to be a universe, but I got too snowed in and I just couldn't really find any more ideas. Wind Charge. This one. And the main. And then we go into the main character. I have casted most of these main characters and I've shown off what I want the suits to maybe look like. But for a big part, it's like I'm not really capable of writing that characters. So it's like sometimes I was forced, like just Google young white actors, or just search up a show and just take some actors from there. You're going to see that a lot actually. But obviously, one of the main character I casted was Toby Howard, played by Noah Snap, and he is the main character. He is Windcharge. As plot is that he's a scientist, very young scientist, and he's 21, graduated very early, and now is able and he works at a lab, and he got power that he can pressurize air with his hand. If you have played Minecraft, you know the wind charges that are those balls, and like he can boost himself. He can like launch those with his hands and feet, and it's like his special ability. And his suit looks a lot like Tom Wells' Superman suit does in Smallville. It's he just wears a coat because he can hide his hands, so they don't know what he's doing it and shit. And it's also kind of sick. But then we have Michael Loverd, we have Mason Thomas. Mason Thomas is younger, and he could play maybe 17, and he has the character Red Wing. And Red Wing's entire power is that he can grow wings from his bottom of his hand, like down to this, so he has wings, like it says in this picture. And he has organic, but the second Red Wing doesn't have organic. And then we're going to take the love interest is Lila Maxi, played by Sadie Sink. I know it's like they're playing with each other, but I think they're quite nice, and I think they're a good combo. You're gonna see another else being cast as part of the main cast later. And yeah, she's very inspired by Mary Jane. She's a reporter. She's also so yeah, she's a reporter, and that's like her job. So she's like, oh yeah, Iris in the original fashion. Now I see. And we have Lucas Smith as Finn Wolfguard. He is the scientist buddy of the other guy. They work as scientists together. He's meant to play like 28, so he plays a pretty old guy. And he looks old for his age. He looks young for his age, he often says. But I think they have really great chemistry on Stranger Things, so it's pretty good that they are together. And we have Jackson Williams played by Marcus Grant. He is another reporter that constantly hits on Lily Max, but obviously she falls for our main guy. And then we have the main sighted Howard Millen, played by Dan Lee Da Kim. I know I might have pronounced that extremely wrong, but he plays like, and you think he's a villain, but he's not, and he's just stuck there as their like team leader, the guy in the chair. And then we go to villain characters. We have Maximilian, that is played by the guy who played Ang, Gordon Kramer. And he also gets affected, and he gets the power of flight. I'm not sure he gets the power of flight, but he gets a suit that is bulletproof and boosts his strength. So it's like and very high durability and shit. So he becomes a sort of Superman. But if Windshark would blow him with several winds, he would get weakened. That he's like the opposite. And then we have Lightning Strike, played by Travis Wilham. And he also gets power. He's a cleaner at the actual science lab. And he gets lightning power. Not like like electric, but he can't. But his movements, he has to move to activate it. I think that was a quite creative power. But he has to like move his fingers, and then lightning are gonna start sparing off them. And then yeah, and this is him when he's using a suit that constantly activates his muscles, built by Howard Milligan. Because both these two tries to be heroes but fail. And yeah, now we're going to the plot of the show. Hope you like. It's a little bit different. I now have Spider-Man gameplay for you guys to watch. And then it's this just starts off with we see Tobias be late for work. He's like, oh my god, I'm gonna be late, I'm gonna be late. As he then, as Lucas lets him in and says, right on time, as he looks at his watch. Says, what are we doing? Oh, we're testing the black wax. The finger building is trying to build bombs that are black holes that you drop on and then they whip out everything in 100 meters, like, and then destroy it. So they're actually going, and then they're gonna spit it out, like crumbs and shit. So that's what they're trying to build. It's really hard, but then it's like goes wrong. But instead it hits in black holes and explodes. That's how they get their powers. And then the first arc of the and the first like episodes is him becoming friends with Fight and Lightning as Windshot, as Lucas the Span. He's trying to meet Maxie. As he's actually earlier in the episode he gets embarrassed before he gets powered by Jackson, but then he embarrasses him by tripping him with a blast. So that he becomes Night Search later on in the seasons. He actually become a team of them. But then he fights Lightning Strike and this guy and Lightning and Light with the help of Flight. As he then realizes that Flight killed him. Flight lift picks him up and then shocks him down. And Windshot could do nothing about it. He just stands there seeing a man get killed by this supposed hero. As the next arc is him trying to reveal Maximilian. But it just ends up with them having to fight in the sky and him sparing him, even though he has his hand to his face, like completely grabbed, and he's like, "I could blow your head off if I wanted to, but I won't because I'm a good person." As he then leaves, and then he flies towards him, as he then explodes his, from the elbow on his right arm. From elbow down, he doesn't have an arm because then blows that off and says, "Warning shot." As it really shows that you can be a hero, but if you're not good, you're going to get put in your place. Next season is released a year later. Same Tobias Howard is still played by Noah Snap, and yeah, and Max Luverd is still played by Redwing. His little brother is actually introduced in a short while, but he's still Redwing. Next season it won't be. Howard Jones, played by Joe Kieran, is a hero called White Mask. So yeah, and what can I say is that that's the same with she actually starts dating Toby, as Lucas Smith actually doesn't start taking over. He just continues being himself and keep running text. As Jackson Williams and Lucas and they become pretty close friends as he stopped being an asshole. As Howard Milne with the season has to deal with what happened to his little brother, but he's still pathetic him. No new side characters this season. As the villain characters, we get Mecha Stand. Matthew Mercy's voice. He's the guy who voices Shroud in the Dispatch game, and I really think it's good. And he looks like this. It's a giant mechanical suit. We now get to know that all this villain has been given his powers by hand. He tried to summon a demon and was turned into this. And it's like a giant mecha suit that is completely CGI. But this is also at the time, and they have a pretty big budget for a TV show. And we see his and he can control those, but he's also super strong. So it's a pretty big difference for a guy with wings. I just want to say, White Mask is powerless. He's like Batman, but maybe like I think he's more like Red Hood. He kills people, and Windshot that can blow things up. He's by far the strongest there, but they still take him out. And then they have Lucifer. It's a perfect casting. You can't blame me. And this is him in the show. In his at least demon form. He looks like a normal guy in his human form. And then he talks and he starts working, and Adam actually figures him out pretty quickly and tells him to go back to where the hell he came from. And they don't beat him. They blow him into heaven. Because heaven is seriously above them. If you go up on the tallest in this if you the Empire State Building, you have to go to that. as on the top of that dot, that's the gateway to heaven if you wanna. There's so many people have jumped off from the shape. It's like become a gateway to heaven. So he blows his ass up to heaven as he's put there, and then God sends him straight back to hell and change him up. And then Lucifer doesn't do anything, but he says that he will come back, but the show gets cancelled before he has time to come back. And the plot of the show is, I already explained some parts. It's the first part. It is Red Wing and I taking out some common criminals, a lot of it throughout the season. And then they meet the White Mask, who is also taking out several criminals. And it's like Adam sees them, kills them, so they get into a small argument, and then Adam actually sees. I don't kill common criminals. I kill mafia bosses with more murders on their hands than you can count with your toes and fingers. So he kills those people, and it's like he actually understands some people deserve to die. And he introduced them to the team as Howard Millen actually is like decides to like no step back. So he's still in the show, but he's not that much in the season. As Leon Max, he becomes pretty high up in the news world, as Jackson Williams also does. They become partners. He actually quits writing and becomes a photograph because in the other season, Toby helps him understand that this is what he wants to do, so he should do it. I did what? And then we obviously then start fighting mecha stances. We see this guy go around thinking he's a hero, but then Adam tells him, "You're not a hero. Your powers are from hell. You can't. You can use them for good, but you have to do it better than. You can't just run around doing what you're doing." And then they have an argument, and then they fight, and it ends up with actually him getting blown up by a black hole bomb. They have also upgraded White Mask takes extremely high. And it was just a white banana, now it's a white mask that makes him not see. It also makes him be able to calculate distance. Very good kind of shit. As they then find out Lucifer, Savannah goes talk to Lucifer. He literally finds his office, speaks to him, and tells him you can't give more people powers. This is in the Empire State, so they start fighting, and I'm actually get him up. This is 2 episodes of trying to stop this, so he's not really a big villain. He's more like Zoom, I would say, like behind it all, like not really. Season 3. It's gonna start, but he has a new suit. He still keeps the coat, but he starts looking more like Daredevil. He has like a mask. He has like that, and now when he's older, he starts looking like more of a. Like he's now canonically over, and his time starts looking like an old dude. See, Michael Lord in this season, he actually stops being Red Wing and gives a type and becomes nameless, and he looks at them. He goes around beating up comic criminals like he did earlier. As Jacob Loeb and his little brother Jacob Scoldwell becomes Redwing. As we obviously still have Harry Jones, John Kerry as White Mask. He doesn't do anything more. Side characters, we have John Henderson uh, as L.S. Elgart that plays Power Man. That is a Superman variant that's been a hero for like 5 years. He respects Will Jones a lot, and he is actually the guy who recommends Will Jones to get an actual super suit. If you meet Bat, Tyler James Williams, Bat is just a guy who walks around with Bat beating up people. He's a sociopath. And we still have Lila Maxi, that is now, we have Lila Smith, and they all just become very close. As Adam that's having his most super, no, not Adam. Toby's that's having more of his super friends, so it starts becoming really weird for them. That's how Emily returns. But he actually has to communicate with a mechanic, a former employee of Jim, actually the guy who helped him start his company, that is looks like this nowadays and played by Tom Welling, has showed up as he with a gang called the Wing Gang, as Black Wing they played by Alexander Ludwig looks like this. They're a high-tech criminal gang who goes beating up their enemies and to put a fear in New York street life. As Deathwing is played by Robbie Amell, the second wing, that actually fights the new Red Wing and the former Red Wing, now nameless, and he's able to keep them up as Deathwing is kicked off a building and his wings malfunction, so he dies that way. And then Deathwing does a lot of wrestling. But obviously, I said the season is really focused on Howard Million type them him adapting with being a public hero now. His friends trying to like understand what is going to happen to their friend now and how it's all going to be. But it's like, yeah, how the hell are we going to do this? And then they realize that they're not going to see him as much. This is what he wants to do, and they support it. They like try to give him a space, and they do. And he shows up sometimes, and he shows up, and sometimes he doesn't. He is just there, just being good friends to him. As we also see him start actually, as we start taking down him meeting Power Man that is in Los Angeles, that he's now flown over to meet him, like speak to him, and like, you're doing good work, good work, man. And then they start getting aggression as they all fight. They bats start taking down Deathwing and Blackwing. The henchmen, they call themselves Wings. They are just they have mechanical wings almost to the same level of like the new Red Wing has, because he doesn't have powers. He has just normal wings. One has Hawk's power, you can almost say, like feathers. The other guy has Falcon in the MCU. So yeah, and then it's just focused on them taking down and then him meeting back, him telling Bat that he can't just go around. He has to actually like mobilize himself as a hero, and then he gets to know all the blacks. And then, as I said, it's we see the former Red Wing, the only good wings. The head calls them. You call yourself Red Wing, you're not even a good wing. As it then Nameless and Red Wing taking him out, and Nameless actually thinking, should I take up the mantle, Blackwing? Because it's like a good name, and he's like, no, you shouldn't. You should stay the way you are. Why would you change yourself? Like, yeah, that's a good point. And as we also see them and the mechanic being taken down by Bat and killed by just being brutally beaten. As we see Hyper fight him in the air and him blowing off one of his wings. So we see him start tumbling down and say, But we don't. So yeah, that's how he loses his life. Season 4 is starting in 2028. We still have Tobias. He still seems to see Michael Lover. And he gets a new suit because he was like, and same with Jack Howard, Michael Covert. He gets his own like more tactical because he needs arm and shit. And then we see Joe Carey still wears white, and then the sidekicks obviously Angel Harris. And then we introduced to Harry Black, K-pop McClellan, who plays Firespin. His powers, he is the Human Torch, basically. He can just create fire. And how he got his powers is like Fireman is an alien, and the Bat doesn't have any. He got his powers for another experiment. Like created he got it called Seven, called the Hyper program. It's the record, and he got 5 powers from it. And then Axiom, these characters doesn't do that much, and the villains are Soundwave, that is just created by the machine. He is just the raw sound, of canon. As Light Show, Miles Brown, this is how he looks, and he is just raw light, and he generates it from his canvas. And the plot of this show season is quite easily, for example, Lily Max breaks up and actually start dating Jackson Williams, and it's like, and Tobias understands it. I couldn't give her the time she needed. It's like puzzle. And Lucas, and they actually both all not leave the show. They're still side characters, but they're not in the main cast. As Lucas Smith starts taking up a lot more space, and he's like, "Oh my god, all my friends that I'm hanging out with right now are super people, and I am not one." So then he kind of takes off the mantle of the machinist that becomes like a very big hacker. He like does all of the. He becomes basically Oracle, and that's a pretty big thing that happens. And then we meet Firespin as we see all our main heroes go out, and they meet him as Paramount explains all about him as he comes to help out, as trying to take down Lightshow and his Android. As they throughout the season start continuously taking down things, trying to take control, but it also ends with them killing each other. They blast themselves. Um, and that's usually the biggest feat of Windchild has shown up, blowing back light and sound. We hear like his arms not taking enough pressure. So then we see Power Man and Firespin hit him so that they blast each other and kill each other. Season 5, the final season. I think about how I was to him. It's always the same thing with Mason Thomas and Michael, and he's the all of these are the same. We're going to psychiatrist. We have John Henderson, please, and Paraman still with him. But all of this is the same, except Lucas still has hyperspeed. This hyperspeed. He is a speedster. he is the Flash basically, but he runs very fast and and these are all the same. They're not. These two are in one episode. Jackson Williams and Lily Mac, and the villains are Cable. And he's just made out of cables. He's another one of Machinist failed. As Power's house is actually from the Hyper program that we got to know a lot more about in the season. So maybe we should go with it. The Hyper program is to recognize a hero that showed up 10 years ago called Hyperspeed, trying to give all the people his powers. Not succeed, so they instead try to give them different powers, like fire powers that is given to Fire Spin, and super strength that is given to Powerhouse, that then becomes evil. And then it's just this continuous show of the as they call themselves, the Protectors, as White Mask joins the Protectors, but Windshot doesn't, because of some reason. And Red Wing criticizes him. Nameless is even part of the Protectors. Every other hero is part of the Protectors, even Bat. Bad Samurai for the season gets an upgraded suit that is him wearing more armor, but he still runs and he gets two bats that are metallic and they're like Nightwing's a scream at it. But Adam says, I'm going to take down every last part of my mistake, because we now get to know the Cable is not a creation by the machinist we thought. He was created in the accident. Last one that was created. So Adam has to take him out, and he does. But he obviously has it from the Powerhouse, because he is now alone. None of the other heroes shows up to help him here. It's him and Red Wing to do this alone. It's like Batman and Robin. And they are able to. They constantly succeed, and they actually do. But then Red Wing, he gets his entire body almost does it. He just barely survives it and might never be a hero again. He's able to survive thanks to, but that's when we see Grey Lock in. We see Nameless trying to go with him, but he like sticks out on blocking him. And then jumps up and starts blowing. His Powerhouse has cables he needs to survive, and the Wild Shot doesn't kill, but he keeps blowing off these cables. Then he's back. The Cable doesn't have time to repair, and then he tells Cable to come the fuck out. As we see him do like Batman. Cable, meet me on Town Square, or I'm blowing up your fucking lair. As he then meets and bite, and him getting completely smoked the fuck out. And him actually destroying him and telling him, you don't send your men to kill my sidekick. And then actually grabs Cable and kills it. He grabs his face and blows it. As we see Power Man look at him, disappointed. Everybody loses. But it just ends with him. But the final two episodes are actually him not being a hero. It's him staying nameless. And now it's not that Nameless doesn't have a dad. And Nameless is still 4 and he's 15 now. So he gets adopted. And he gets taken care of by Nameless. And it's a good time to spend with him. And we see it, and then we have to see him join. And we see them fight like a galactic threat. That was, and it all ends with him, as we see a clip of him having his arm around Little Max, saying, as we see Red Wing, now looking like 25, training like a 10-year-old, training like it's like a ball with like a 5-year-old, like a 5-year-old girl. As we see all of the gang stand around, as we see like a kid flying, we see a kid blasting himself, and we see the referee is Red Wing jumping around. And we see all the kids are now playing like slug. As we see Red Wing jumping around, not trying to die. And that was the end. Hope you enjoyed the thing. I'm sorry if you thought the castings were a little bit basic, but that's all I have.